Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English in Minutes 2.0. I am Emma, your host for today. If you are new here, I would like to give you a warm welcome, and I also want to tell you that we upload a new English learning video every day on our channel to help you improve your English faster, step by step, with simple lessons, real practice, and natural English that you can use in daily life. In today's episode, you will improve both your English listening skills and your English speaking skills, especially at the B1 and B2 intermediate level. Today's lesson is a full English conversation practice masterclass designed to help you understand intermediate English more clearly, speak more naturally, and build stronger fluency through daily life English conversations. We will practice useful conversations from real situations, like talking about your day, sharing opinions, explaining problems, making plans, asking polite questions, giving clear answers, and using more advanced English phrases in a simple and natural way. You will hear examples that help you catch sentence flow, understand natural spoken English, learn useful expressions, and speak with more confidence. By the end of this video, you will feel more comfortable understanding intermediate English conversations, and you will also learn how to use better phrases instead of very basic sentences, so your English can sound more fluent, more natural, and more confident. You do not need to speak perfectly today. You only need to listen carefully, repeat when I ask you to repeat, and practice with me slowly, one sentence at a time. Before we start the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and also press the bell icon if you want more helpful English learning episodes like this every day. So, grab a pen and paper. If you want to take notes, relax your mind, listen carefully, speak with me, and let's get started. Before we begin practicing full conversations, I want you to understand something very important about listening and speaking at the B1 and B2 level. At this stage, English is not only about knowing more words, it is about understanding how words connect together in real life. Many learners know the meaning of hundreds, or even thousands, of English words, but when they hear a natural conversation, they still feel lost. This happens because real English is not spoken word by word, like a dictionary. Real English moves in chunks, in small groups of words, in expressions, in natural rhythm, and in feelings. So today, as you listen to me, I do not want you to chase every single word. I want you to listen for meaning. Listen for the situation. Listen for the emotion behind the sentence. When you start doing this, your listening becomes calmer, and your speaking becomes more natural. Let's begin with a simple daily life situation. Imagine you are talking to a friend after a busy day. Your friend asks, "How has your day been so far?" A very basic answer could be, "My day was good." That is correct, but at B1 and B2 level, we want to build a fuller answer. You can say, "It has been a pretty busy day, but I managed to get most of my work done." Listen to that sentence again. It has been a pretty busy day, but I managed to get most of my work done. This sentence sounds more natural because it gives a little detail. The phrase pretty busy means quite busy, but not extremely busy. The phrase I managed to means I was able to do something, even though it was not easy. So instead of saying, "I did my work," you can say, "I managed to get my work done." This sounds more fluent, more expressive, and more natural. Now, repeat after me, slowly. It has been a pretty busy day. Again. It has been a pretty busy day. Now, repeat. I managed to get most of my work done. Again. I managed to get most of my work done. Now, let's put the full sentence together. It has been a pretty busy day, but I managed to get most of my work done. Very good. This is the kind of sentence you can use in real conversation. You can change it easily. You can say, "It has been a pretty stressful day, but I managed to stay focused." You can say, "It has been a long day, but I managed to finish everything on time." You can say, "It has been a quiet day, but I managed to study for an hour. When you learn one strong sentence pattern, you can create many natural sentences from it. Now, let's practice a short conversation. I will say both sides first, and then we will practice the answers. A friend says, "How has your day been so far?" You answer, "It has been a little tiring, to be honest, but I'm glad I got a few important things done." Your friend says, "What kind of things did you do?" You answer, "I had to take care of some work, reply to a few messages, and plan the rest of my week." Your friend says, "That sounds productive." You answer, "Yes, I think so. I still have a lot to do, but at least I made some progress." This conversation is simple, but it sounds natural, because it includes useful phrases like, "to be honest," "take care of," "the rest of my week," "that sounds productive," and "at least I made some progress." These phrases help you speak in a smoother way. Let's look closely at "to be honest." This phrase is very common in spoken English. You use it when you want to share your real feeling or opinion. For example, "To be honest, I was a little nervous." "To be honest, I didn't understand everything." "To be honest, I need more time." At the intermediate level, this phrase is powerful because it helps you sound more human and more natural. Now, repeat after me. "To be honest, I was a little nervous." "To be honest, I need more time." "To be honest, I didn't understand everything." Good. Notice that this phrase can come at the beginning of a sentence. You can also put it at the end. "I was a little nervous, to be honest." This sounds very natural in conversation. Now, let's practice listening for meaning. I will say a sentence, and I want you to understand the main idea, not just the individual words. Listen carefully. "I was planning to finish everything earlier, but one thing led to another, and I ended up working longer than I expected." What is the main idea? The speaker wanted to finish earlier, but more things happened, and the work took longer. The phrase, "one thing led to another," means that one action or problem caused another. It is a natural phrase for daily life. For example, "I opened my email to check one message, but one thing led to another, and I spent an hour replying to people." Or, "I went to the store for one item, but one thing led to another, and I came back with 3 bags." This phrase makes your English more advanced because it tells a small story in a natural way. Repeat after me. One thing led to another. Again. One thing led to another. Now, repeat the full sentence. "I was planning to finish everything earlier, but one thing led to another." Again. "I was planning to finish everything earlier, but one thing led to another." Now, continue. "And I ended up working longer than I expected." Great. The phrase "ended up" is also very useful. It means the final result was different from the original plan. "I wanted to relax, but I ended up cleaning my room." "I planned to cook at home, but I ended up ordering food." "I wanted to study for 10 minutes, but I ended up studying for an hour." These are natural daily life sentences. Practice them because they will help you speak more fluently. Now, let's move into a conversation about making plans, because this is something we do all the time. At a basic level, you might say, "Do you want to meet tomorrow?" That is fine. But at B1 and B2 level, you can say, "Would you be free sometime tomorrow? I was thinking we could catch up for a little while." This sounds more polite and natural. The phrase, "would you be free," is softer than "are you free?" The phrase, "I was thinking," is a gentle way to suggest an idea. The phrase "catch up" means to talk with someone and share updates, so this sentence is very useful in real English. Now, I want you to practice answering in your own way. Imagine I ask you, "Would you be free sometime this week?" You can answer like this: "I think so, but I need to check my schedule first." Repeat. "I think so, but I need to check my schedule first." You can also say, "I'm not completely sure yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I can." Repeat. I'm not completely sure yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I can. This is a very useful sentence because it helps you sound polite when you cannot give an immediate answer. Let's now practice expressing opinions. At the B1 and B2 level, you need to do more than answer simple questions. You need to explain what you think and why you think it. A basic opinion is, I like it. A stronger opinion is, I really like it because it feels practical and easy to use. Another natural answer is, I see your point, but I look at it a little differently. This is an excellent phrase for conversations. It helps you disagree without sounding rude. Repeat after me. I see your point. Again. I see your point. Now, repeat. But I look at it a little differently. Again. But I look at it a little differently. Now, the full sentence. I see your point, but I look at it a little differently. Very good. Now, let's slow down and practice pronunciation and rhythm. Grammar is important, of course, but speaking practice helps you use grammar in real life. Do not say every word separately. Say it in small groups. Grammar is important, of course, but speaking practice helps you. Use grammar in real life. Practice slowly and feel the rhythm. Now, let's use another advanced phrase. From my point of view, this phrase is used when you want to share your opinion clearly. For example, from my point of view, listening practice is the foundation of speaking. Listening trains your brain, quietly. But listening alone is not enough. You must also speak, repeat, answer, and create your own sentences. That is how passive knowledge becomes active fluency. Repeat after me. From my point of view, listening practice is the foundation of speaking. Now, together. From my point of view, listening practice is the foundation of speaking. Let's continue. With a longer speaking practice. I used to think that fluency meant speaking quickly, but now I understand that fluency means speaking clearly and naturally. From my point of view, the best way to improve is to listen every day, repeat useful phrases, and use them in real conversations. I still make mistakes, of course, but I'm learning to express myself with more confidence. Excellent. As we continue, remember this simple idea. Intermediate English is not about using difficult words all the time. It is about using clear words in a more natural, flexible, and confident way. You do not need to rush. You do not need to sound perfect. You only need to build, sentence by sentence. Every useful phrase you practice becomes a small tool in your speaking toolbox, and the more tools you have, the easier it becomes to express your real thoughts in English. Now, let's continue by practicing one of the most important skills for intermediate English conversations, explaining a situation clearly. Many learners can answer short questions, but when they need to explain something in more detail, they become nervous. They start thinking, which tense should I use? Which word is correct? How can I connect my ideas? This is very normal. But the good news is, you do not need complicated English to explain things well. You need clear sentence patterns, useful connecting phrases, and enough practice to make your speaking flow naturally. When you explain something, try to think in 3 simple steps. First, say what happened. Then, say how you felt, or what the problem was. Finally, say what you did, or what you're going to do next. This simple structure can help you speak for longer, without getting lost. Imagine someone asks you, "Why were you late?" A very basic answer is, "There was traffic." That is correct, but it is too short. At B1 and B2 level, you can say, "I left on time, but the traffic was much heavier than I expected, so I got there a little late." Listen again. "I left on time, but the traffic was much heavier than I expected, so I got there a little late." This sentence is natural because it gives a reason and a result. The phrase, "much heavier than I expected," means the traffic was worse than you thought it would be. You can use this pattern in many ways. The meeting took longer than I expected. The homework was harder than I expected. The restaurant was busier than I expected. The weather was colder than I expected. This phrase is very useful because daily life is full of situations that are different from what we expect. Repeat after me. It was much heavier than I expected. Again. It was much heavier than I expected. Now, change the sentence. The meeting took longer than I expected. Again. The meeting took longer than I expected. Now, try this one. The conversation was more interesting than I expected. Again. The conversation was more interesting than I expected. Very good. When you practice these patterns, you're not only learning vocabulary, you are training your mouth and your brain to build sentences automatically. Now, let's practice a short conversation about explaining a small problem. Your friend says, "Hey, I thought you were coming earlier." You answer, "I know. I'm sorry about that. I left on time, but the traffic was much heavier than I expected." Your friend says, "No worries. Did everything else go okay?" You answer, "Yes, everything was fine. I just felt a bit stressed because I don't like keeping people waiting." Your friend says, "I understand. These things happen." You answer, "Thanks for being patient. I appreciate it." This conversation sounds polite and natural. Notice the phrase, "I'm sorry about that." It is more natural than only saying sorry in many situations. Notice also, "I don't like keeping people waiting." This is a useful phrase because it explains your feeling. And, "Thanks for being patient. I appreciate it," is a very natural way to show respect. Repeat after me. I'm sorry about that. The traffic was much heavier than I expected. I don't like keeping people waiting. Thanks for being patient. I appreciate it. Excellent. Now, let's build your speaking confidence by changing the situation. Instead of traffic, maybe your internet was not working. You can say, "I'm sorry about that. My internet was acting up, and I couldn't join the call on time." The phrase, acting up, means not working properly. You can say, "My phone is acting up. My laptop is acting up. The app is acting up." It is a very common, daily life phrase. Repeat after me. My internet was acting up. My phone is acting up. The app is acting up. Good. These small phrases make your English sound much more natural. Now, let's talk about asking for clarification, because this is one of the most useful skills for listening practice. Many English learners feel embarrassed when they do not understand something. They think they must understand every sentence the first time, but even native speakers ask for clarification. In real life, people speak quickly, background noise happens, accents are different, and sometimes the information is not clear. So instead of staying silent, you can use polite phrases to ask someone to repeat or explain. You can say, "Sorry, could you say that again? I didn't quite catch that. Could you explain what you mean by that? Just to make sure I understood correctly, are you saying that we should meet later?" These phrases are extremely important at the intermediate level because they help you stay inside the conversation, even when you miss something. Repeat after me. I didn't quite catch that. Again. I didn't quite catch that. Now, repeat. Could you explain what you mean by that? Again. Could you explain what you mean by that? Now, repeat. Just to make sure I understood correctly. Again. Just to make sure I understood correctly. This phrase is especially useful in professional conversations, study situations, and serious discussions. It shows that you are listening carefully. For example, someone says, "We might need to move the meeting to a later time." You can say, "Just to make sure I understood correctly, are we changing the meeting time?" This sounds polite and intelligent. You are not saying, "I don't understand." You are checking the information in a calm way. Now, let's practice a daily life conversation using clarification. Someone says, I think we should leave a little earlier because the place gets crowded, around 6. You answer, Sorry, I didn't quite catch the last part. Did you say it gets crowded around 6? The person says, Yes, exactly. If we leave too late, we may have to wait for a table. You answer, Got it. In that case, leaving earlier makes sense. This is a very natural conversation. The phrase, got it, means I understand. The phrase, in that case, means because of that situation. You can use it often. In that case, I'll call you tomorrow. In that case, we should take a taxi. In that case, I'll bring an extra notebook. This phrase helps you connect your response to new information. Repeat after me. In that case, leaving earlier makes sense. Again. In that case, leaving earlier makes sense. Now, try another one. In that case, we should change the plan. Again. In that case, we should change the plan. Now, another. In that case, I'll wait for your message. Again. In that case, I'll wait for your message. Very good. You are learning how to respond naturally, not just how to memorize isolated sentences. Now, let's move to speaking about preferences, because daily conversations often include choices. Someone may ask, would you rather eat at home or go out? A basic answer is, I want to eat at home, but a more natural answer is, I'd rather eat at home today, because I'm a bit tired, and I feel like having something simple. The phrase, I'd rather means I would prefer to. The phrase, I feel like means I want, or I am in the mood for. For example, I feel like watching a movie. I feel like going for a walk. I feel like having tea. I don't feel like cooking tonight. These phrases are very common. In spoken English, they help you talk about what you want, in a natural way. Repeat after me. I'd rather eat at home today. Again. I'd rather eat at home today. Now. Repeat. I feel like having something simple. Again. I feel like having something simple. Now. Full sentence. I'd rather eat at home today, because I'm a bit tired, and I feel like having something simple. Excellent. Now, let's change it. I'd rather go out today, because I've been at home all day, and I feel like doing something different. Repeat. I'd rather go out today, because I've been at home all day, and I feel like doing something different. This sentence gives a preference and a reason, which makes your speaking stronger. Now, I will give you a short conversation about preferences. One person says, Do you want to watch something at home, or would you rather go out? The answer is, Honestly, I'd rather stay in tonight. I'm not in the mood for a noisy place. The person says, That's fair. We can just order something and watch a movie. The answer is, That sounds perfect. I feel like having a quiet evening. This conversation includes several useful expressions. Honestly is similar to be honest. I'm not in the mood for means you do not feel like doing something. That's fair means what you said is reasonable. That sounds perfect is a natural positive response. Repeat after me. I'm not in the mood for a noisy place. That's fair. That sounds perfect. I feel like having a quiet evening. Good. These phrases help your English sound relaxed and real. Now, let's practice talking about experiences. At B1 and B2 level, you often need to talk about things you have done, things you have learned, or things that have changed over time. For this, the phrase, I've noticed that, is very helpful. For example, I've noticed that my listening improves when I practice a little every day. This sentence sounds thoughtful and natural. You can also say, I've noticed that I speak better when I don't worry too much about mistakes. Or, I've noticed that English conversations become easier when I learn phrases, not just single words. This phrase helps you share personal observations. Repeat after me. I've noticed that. Again. I've noticed that. Now. Repeat. I've noticed that my listening improves when I practice a little every day. Again. I've noticed that my listening improves when I practice a little every day. Now, another one. I've noticed that I speak better when I don't worry too much about mistakes. Again, I've noticed that I speak better when I don't worry too much about mistakes. Excellent. Now, let's build a longer answer using this phrase. Imagine someone asks you, "What has helped you improve your English the most?" You can answer, "I've noticed that my English improves more when I practice with full sentences instead of memorizing random words. When I learn a phrase in context, I remember it better, and I can use it more easily in conversation. I still forget words sometimes, but I'm getting better at explaining my ideas in a simple way." This answer is excellent for B1 and B2 because it explains an idea clearly. It also uses natural phrases, like instead of, in context, I remember it better, and I'm getting better at. The phrase, I'm getting better at, is very important. You can say, I'm getting better at speaking. I'm getting better at understanding movies. I'm getting better at answering questions. I'm getting better at explaining my opinions. This phrase shows progress. Repeat after me. I'm getting better at speaking. I'm getting better at answering questions. I'm getting better at explaining my opinions. Now, say this longer sentence. I'm getting better at explaining my ideas in a simple way. Again, I'm getting better at explaining my ideas in a simple way. Very good. Now, let's practice a conversation about learning progress. A friend asks, "Do you feel more confident speaking English now?" You answer, "Yes, a little. I still make mistakes, but I've noticed that I can speak for longer than before." Your friend says, "That's a great sign. What helped you?" You answer, "I think listening to natural conversations helped a lot. I'm also getting better at using phrases instead of translating word by word." Your friend says, "That makes sense. You sound more comfortable now." You answer, "Thanks. I'm trying to focus on communication, not perfection." This is a very strong conversation for intermediate learners. The final sentence is especially important. I'm trying to focus on communication, not perfection. This sentence can change the way you learn English. Repeat after me. I still make mistakes, but I can speak for longer than before. I'm getting better at using phrases. I'm trying to focus on communication, not perfection. Excellent. Say that last sentence again, with confidence. I'm trying to focus on communication, not perfection. Good. Now, let's move into polite requests. Polite requests are very important in English because the way you ask for something can change how your sentence feels. For example, "Give me your pen" sounds too direct in many situations. A better sentence is, "Could I borrow your pen for a second?" Or, "Would you mind sending me the details?" Or, "Do you think you could help me with this?" These phrases sound polite and natural. At B1 and B2 level, you should practice them often. Repeat after me. Could I borrow your pen for a second? Again. Could I borrow your pen for a second? Now, repeat. Would you mind sending me the details? Again. Would you mind sending me the details? Now, repeat. Do you think you could help me with this? Again. Do you think you could help me with this? Very good. Now, let's use polite requests in a real conversation. You say, "Would you mind sending me the details when you get a chance?" The other person says, "Sure, I can send them this afternoon." You say, "Thanks, I really appreciate it. I just want to make sure I have everything before I start." The person says, "No problem. I'll include the main points in the message." You say, "That would be great. Thanks again." This conversation is natural because it is polite, clear, and not too formal. Repeat after me. When you get a chance. Please call me when you get a chance. Send me the details when you get a chance. Let me know when you get a chance. Excellent. Now, let's practice another polite phrase. I just want to make sure. This phrase helps you explain why you are asking something. For example, I just want to make sure I understood correctly. I just want to make sure we are meeting at the right time. I just want to make sure I have the correct address. Repeat after me. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure I understood correctly. I just want to make sure I have the correct address. Great. Now, let's continue. With a longer speaking exercise, listen first. I'm sorry I couldn't reply earlier. I was taking care of something important, and it took longer than I expected. I've noticed that when my day gets busy, I need to organize my time more carefully. In that case, could we move our conversation to later this evening? I'd rather speak when I can focus properly. I just want to make sure I give you my full attention. Now, let's practice in small pieces. I'm sorry I couldn't reply earlier. I was taking care of something important, and it took longer than I expected. I've noticed that when my day gets busy, I need to organize my time more carefully. In that case, could we move our conversation to later this evening? I'd rather speak when I can focus properly. I just want to make sure I give you my full attention. Excellent. As you continue practicing, remember this. Your goal is not to memorize every sentence perfectly. Your goal is to become familiar with the patterns. When you hear, longer than I expected, you should be able to create your own sentence. When you hear, I didn't quite catch that, you should feel ready to use it in real conversation. When you hear, I'd rather, I feel like, I've noticed that, or when you get a chance, these phrases should become part of your speaking toolbox. This is how intermediate English becomes fluent English. You listen, you repeat, you understand, and then you use the phrases in your own daily life. Now, let's continue with a very important part of intermediate English, talking about feelings, reactions, and everyday situations in a more natural way. Many learners can say simple sentences like, I am happy, I am tired, I am sad, or I am busy. These sentences are correct, but real conversations usually need a little more detail. At B1 and B2 level, you want to explain your feelings in a way that sounds natural, clear, and human. For example, instead of only saying, I am tired, you can say, I'm feeling a bit worn out today because I've had a lot on my mind. This sentence sounds much more natural. The phrase worn out means very tired, usually because you have used a lot of energy. The phrase I've had a lot on my mind means you have been thinking about many things, maybe problems, plans, responsibilities, or worries. Repeat after me. I'm feeling a bit worn out today. Again, I'm feeling a bit worn out today. Now, repeat. I've had a lot on my mind. Again, I've had a lot on my mind. Now, say the full sentence. I'm feeling a bit worn out today because I've had a lot on my mind. Excellent. This is a very useful sentence because it helps you express tiredness in a mature way. You can change it easily. I'm feeling a bit stressed today because I've had a lot on my mind. I'm feeling a bit quiet today because I've had a lot on my mind. I'm not feeling my best today because I've had a lot on my mind. These are natural sentences for real-life conversations. Now, let's practice a short conversation about feelings. A friend asks, Are you okay? You seem a little quiet today. You answer, Yes, I'm okay. I'm just feeling a bit worn out. I've had a lot on my mind lately. Your friend says, Do you want to talk about it? You answer, Maybe later. For now, I just need a little time to relax and clear my head. Your friend says, Of course. Take your time. You answer, Thanks. I really appreciate your understanding. This conversation is useful because it teaches you how to speak honestly without giving too many personal details. The phrase clear my head means to relax your mind and stop feeling confused or stressed. You can say, I'm going for a walk to clear my head. I need a few minutes to clear my head. Listening to music helps me clear my head. This is a very natural expression. Repeat after me. I need a little time to relax. I need a few minutes to clear my head. I really appreciate your understanding. Good. Now, let's focus on that last phrase. I really appreciate your understanding. This is more advanced than simply saying thanks. You can use it when someone is patient, kind, or flexible with you. For example, I'm sorry for the delay. I really appreciate your understanding. I need to change the time. I really appreciate your understanding. This phrase is polite and useful in both daily life and professional communication. Now, let's move to another common situation, reacting to someone's news. In daily conversations, people often tell us something good, something difficult, or something surprising. Your response matters. If someone says, I got a new job, you should not only say, good. You can say, that's amazing news. You must be really excited. If someone says, I've been having a difficult week, you can say, I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds really stressful. If someone says, I'm moving to a new city, you can say, wow, that's a big step. How are you feeling about it? These responses show that you're listening with interest. They also help the conversation continue. Naturally, repeat after me. That's amazing news. You must be really excited. I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds really stressful. That's a big step. How are you feeling about it? Excellent. These phrases are very useful because conversations are not only about giving information, conversations are also about showing emotion, interest, and care. When you respond well, people feel more comfortable speaking with you. Now, let's practice a conversation about good news. Your friend says, I finally passed my driving test. You answer, that's amazing news. You must be so relieved. Your friend says, I really am. I was nervous before the test. You answer, I can imagine. But you worked hard for it. And now, your effort has paid off. Your friend says, thank you. I'm really happy. You answer, you should be proud of yourself. This conversation includes a very useful phrase. Your effort has paid off. It means your hard work has created a good result. You can say, all your studying paid off. My practice finally paid off. Her patience paid off. This phrase is common and powerful. It helps you talk about success in a natural way. Repeat after me. Your effort has paid off. Again, your effort has paid off. Now, repeat. All your studying paid off. Again, all your studying paid off. Now, repeat. My practice finally paid off. Again. My practice finally paid off. Very good. You can use this phrase for English learning too. My daily listening practice is starting to pay off. Repeat. My daily listening practice is starting to pay off. Excellent. Now, let's practice a conversation about difficult news. Your friend says, I didn't get the job I applied for. You answer, I'm sorry to hear that. I know you were really hoping for it. Your friend says, yes, I feel disappointed. You answer, that's completely understandable. You put a lot of effort into it. Your friend says, I guess I'll try again somewhere else. You answer, that's a good way to look at it. This one didn't work out, but it doesn't mean you won't find a better opportunity. This conversation teaches you how to support someone in English. The phrase, that's completely understandable, is very useful. It means the person's feeling makes sense. The phrase, it didn't work out, means it did not happen successfully or as planned. You can use it in many situations. The plan didn't work out. The meeting time didn't work out. The job opportunity didn't work out. It is a gentle way to talk about disappointment. Repeat after me. That's completely understandable. Again, that's completely understandable. Now, repeat. It didn't work out. Again, it didn't work out. Now, say, This one didn't work out, but something better may come along. Again, this one didn't work out, but something better may come along. Great. The phrase come along means appear or happen. You can say, a better chance may come along. A new opportunity came along. If something interesting comes along, I'll let you know. This phrase helps you sound more natural when talking about future possibilities. Now, let's talk about giving advice. Many English learners use you should again and again. You should study. You should sleep. You should practice. This is correct, but sometimes it can sound too direct. In natural English, we often give advice more softly. You can say, maybe you could try practicing for 10 minutes a day. It might help to write down useful phrases. One thing that worked for me was listening to short conversations every day. If I were you, I would start with easier materials and slowly move to harder ones. These phrases sound more polite and thoughtful. Repeat after me. Maybe you could try. It might help to. One thing that worked for me was, if I were you, I would. Good. Now, let's make full sentences. Maybe you could try speaking for 5 minutes every day. It might help to repeat the same conversation several times. One thing that worked for me was learning phrases in context. If I were you, I would focus on small daily progress. Excellent. Now, let's practice a conversation where someone asks for advice about English. A learner says, I understand some English when I read, but I still struggle when people speak quickly. What should I do? You answer, that's a common problem, so don't worry too much. Maybe you could try listening to short conversations first and repeating the key phrases out loud. The learner says, should I listen to the same conversation many times? You answer, yes, that might help. The first time, just listen for the main idea. The second time, listen for useful phrases. The third time, pause and repeat the sentences. The learner says, that sounds manageable. You answer, exactly. You don't need to understand everything at once. You just need to train your ears, step by step. This conversation is perfect for intermediate learners because it explains a method clearly and gently. Repeat after me. I still struggle when people speak quickly. That's a common problem. Listen for the main idea. Listen for useful phrases. Pause and repeat the sentences. Train your ears step by step. Excellent. The phrase, I still struggle with, is also very important. You can say, I still struggle with pronunciation. I still struggle with grammar. I still struggle with fast conversations. But you can also add progress. I still struggle with fast conversations, but I'm improving little by little. This sounds honest and positive. Now, let's practice comparing your past and present English. This is very useful because learners often need to talk about progress. You can say, a few months ago, I used to feel nervous when I heard fast English, but now, I can understand the main idea more easily. This sentence uses used to for a past habit or past situation. I used to feel nervous. That means, in the past, I felt nervous often, but now, it is changing. You can say, I used to translate every sentence in my head. I used to avoid speaking because I was afraid of mistakes. I used to think fluency meant perfect grammar. These sentences help you talk about your learning journey. Repeat after me. I used to feel nervous. I used to translate every sentence in my head. I used to avoid speaking. I used to think fluency meant perfect grammar. Now, let's add the change. But now, I can understand the main idea more easily. But now, I try to speak, even when I make mistakes. But now, I focus more on communication. Very good. This contrast between past and present makes your speaking richer. You are not only giving one simple fact, you are showing growth. Now, let's build a full answer. Imagine someone asks, how has your English changed over time? You can answer, I used to feel nervous, whenever I had to speak English, especially if someone asked me a question suddenly. I was afraid I would make mistakes or forget simple words. But now, I'm learning to stay calmer. I still make mistakes, but I can explain my thoughts better than before. I've also noticed that listening to real conversations helps me understand natural sentence flow. This answer is strong because it uses past experience, present progress, and a clear reason. It sounds natural and thoughtful. Repeat after me in small parts. I used to feel nervous whenever I had to speak English, especially if someone asked me a question suddenly. I was afraid I would make mistakes. But now, I'm learning to stay calmer. I can explain my thoughts better than before. Listening to real conversations helps me understand natural sentence flow. Excellent. Practice this kind of answer many times because it prepares you for real conversations and speaking tests. Now, let's talk about keeping a conversation going. Sometimes learners answer a question correctly, but then the conversation stops. For example, someone asks, "Do you like cooking?" The learner says, "Yes, I like cooking." Then, silence. A stronger answer would be, "Yes, I do. I especially enjoy making simple meals at home because it helps me relax. I'm not an expert, but I like trying new recipes when I have time." What about you? Do you cook often? This answer is much better because it gives detail and asks a question back. One secret of natural conversation is this: answer, add detail, and return the question. This keeps the conversation alive. Repeat after me. I especially enjoy. I'm not an expert, but when I have time. What about you? Do you cook often? Great. Now, let's practice with another topic. If someone asks, "Do you like traveling?" You can say, "Yes, I do. I especially enjoy visiting quiet places where I can relax and learn something new. I haven't traveled as much as I'd like to, but I hope to do more in the future." What about you? Do you enjoy traveling? This answer sounds fluent because it gives a real opinion, adds detail, and invites the other person to speak. Now, practice this answer after me. Yes, I do. I especially enjoy visiting quiet places where I can relax and learn something new. I haven't traveled as much as I'd like to, but I hope to do more in the future. What about you? Excellent. The phrase, "as much as I'd like to," is very useful. It means, not as much as I want. You can say, "I don't read as much as I'd like to." "I don't exercise as much as I'd like to." "I don't practice speaking as much as I'd like to." This phrase sounds very natural and mature. Now, let's continue with a full speaking practice about daily life, feelings, progress, and conversation skills. Listen first. Lately, I've been trying to improve my English by listening more carefully and speaking a little every day. I used to feel nervous when I couldn't understand every word, but now I try to focus on the main idea. I've noticed that real progress comes from small habits, not from studying once and expecting quick results. Some days, I feel confident, and other days, I feel a bit worn out. But I keep going, because I know my effort will pay off. If someone else asked me for advice, I would say, start with simple conversations, repeat useful phrases, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Fluency grows when you keep using English in real situations. Now, let's practice it slowly. Lately, I've been trying to improve my English by listening more carefully and speaking a little every day. I used to feel nervous when I couldn't understand every word. But now, I try to focus on the main idea. I've noticed that real progress comes from small habits, not from studying once and expecting quick results. Some days, I feel confident, and other days, I feel a bit worn out. But I keep going, because I know my effort will pay off. Start with simple conversations, repeat useful phrases, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Fluency grows when you keep using English in real situations. Keep practicing this style of English, Notice how each sentence connects to the next sentence. You are not just saying random lines. You are building meaning. You are explaining feelings. You are reacting to other people. You are giving advice. You are talking about progress. You are keeping conversations alive. This is exactly what intermediate learners need. When you can do these things calmly and clearly, your English becomes more useful in real life. You begin to sound less like someone who is only studying English and more like someone who is actually using English to communicate. Now, let's continue by practicing another skill that can make your intermediate English sound much more natural, handling everyday conversations when you need to explain, respond, and keep the conversation moving without feeling stuck. At the B1 and B2 level, you are no longer only answering simple questions like, "What is your name?" or "Where do you live?" You are learning how to manage real conversations. That means you need to know what to say when someone gives you information, when someone asks for your opinion, when someone changes a plan, when something is unclear, or when you need a little more time to answer. These moments happen all the time in real life, so we are going to practice them slowly and naturally. Let's begin with the phrase, "That makes sense." This is one of the most useful phrases in English conversation. It means, "I understand your reason," or "What you said is logical." Imagine your friend says, "I don't want to go out tonight because I have to wake up early tomorrow." You can answer, "That makes sense. We can do it another time." This response sounds natural because you are showing understanding. You are not just saying okay, you are reacting to the reason. You can also say, "That makes sense to me," or "Yes, that makes sense," or "That makes sense," especially if you have a busy day tomorrow. These small variations help you sound more fluent. Repeat after me. That makes sense. Again, that makes sense. Now, repeat. That makes sense to me. Again, that makes sense to me. Now, say, that makes sense, especially if you have a busy day tomorrow. Excellent. Now, let's use it in a short conversation. Your friend says, "I think I'll stay home today. I'm trying to save money this month." You answer, "That makes sense. Going out can get expensive." Your friend says, "Exactly. I don't want to spend money on things I don't really need." You answer, "I understand. In that case, we can cook something at home or just have a quiet conversation." This conversation is simple, but it sounds real. Notice the phrase, "can get expensive." This means something can become expensive depending on the situation. You can say, "Eating out can get expensive. Traveling can get expensive. Online shopping can get expensive if you are not careful." Now, let's practice. Can get with different adjectives. Repeat after me. It can get noisy. It can get stressful. It can get confusing. It can get expensive. It can get difficult if you wait too long. Very good. This pattern is extremely useful. Instead of saying, "It is noisy," you can say, "It can get noisy in the evening." Instead of saying, "English is confusing," you can say, "English can get confusing when people speak too fast." This sounds more natural because you are talking about a situation that changes or becomes more intense. Now, let's move to another useful conversation phrase. "I was wondering if..." This phrase is polite and very common when you want to ask for something or suggest something. Instead of saying, "Can you help me?" you can say, "I was wondering if you could help me for a minute." Instead of saying, "Can we change the time?" you can say, "I was wondering if we could change the time." This sounds softer and more polite. It is very useful in daily life, work, messages, and conversations. With people you do not know very well, repeat after me. "I was wondering if..." Again, "I was wondering if..." Now, repeat. I was wondering if you could help me for a minute. Again. I was wondering if you could help me for a minute. Now. Repeat. I was wondering if we could change the time. Again. I was wondering if we could change the time. Excellent. Now. Listen to this conversation. You say, I was wondering if we could meet a little later today. Something came up, and I need some extra time. The other person says, Sure, that's fine. What time works better for you? You answer, Would 7 o'clock work for you? The other person says, Yes, 7 works. You answer, Great. Thanks for being flexible. This conversation uses several natural phrases. Something came up means something unexpected happened. What time works better for you means what time is more convenient. Thanks for being flexible means thank you for changing your plan easily. Repeat after me. Something came up. I need some extra time. What time works better for you? Would 7 o'clock work for you? Thanks for being flexible. Very good. The phrase, work for you, is very common. It means, be suitable for you, or be okay for you. You can say, does tomorrow work for you? Would this weekend work for you? This time doesn't really work for me. Friday works better for me. These phrases are much more natural than always saying, is it okay? Now, let's practice a daily life situation where you need to change a plan. Politely. Listen first. I'm really sorry, but I was wondering if we could move our plan to tomorrow. Something came up at home, and I don't want to rush. I hope that's okay with you. This is a strong sentence because it is polite, clear, and respectful. You apologize, ask politely, explain briefly, and check the other person's feeling. Now, repeat in small pieces. I'm really sorry. I was wondering if we could move our plan to tomorrow. Something came up at home. I don't want to rush. I hope that's okay with you. Excellent. You can use this structure in many situations. I was wondering if we could talk later. I was wondering if we could reschedule. I was wondering if you could send it again. I was wondering if I could ask you a quick question. Now, let's practice talking about responsibilities. In daily conversations, people often talk about things they need to do, things they have to manage, or things they are responsible for. A basic sentence is, I have work. A stronger sentence is, I have a few things to take care of before I can relax. The phrase, take care of, means handle, manage, or deal with something. You can take care of work, messages, bills, family responsibilities, a task, a problem, or even yourself. For example, I need to take care of a few emails. I have to take care of some errands. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. You should take care of yourself. This phrase is used constantly in natural English. Repeat after me. I have a few things to take care of. Again, I have a few things to take care of. Now. Repeat. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Again. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Now, say, I need to take care of some errands before I go home. Great. The word errands means small tasks outside the house, like going to the bank, buying something, picking something up, or paying a bill. You can say, I need to run some errands. This means you need to do several small tasks. Repeat after me. I need to run some errands. I have a few errands to run. I'll call you after I finish my errands. Excellent. Now, let's use this in a conversation. A friend asks, Do you want to talk now? You answer, I'd love to, but I have a few things to take care of first. Your friend says, No problem. Should I call you later? You answer, Yes, that would be better. I should be free in about an hour. Your friend says, Okay, I'll call you then. You answer, Perfect. Thanks for understanding. This conversation is very simple, but it sounds natural because it uses polite and flexible language. You are not rejecting the person. You are explaining your situation and offering another time. Now, let's practice Softening your English. Softening means making your sentences less direct and more polite. For example, I don't like it can sound very strong. You can soften it by saying, it's not really my thing. This means you personally do not enjoy it, but you're not judging it strongly. For example, horror movies are not really my thing. Loud parties are not really my thing. Cooking complicated meals is not really my thing. Another soft phrase is, I'm not a big fan of. You can say, I'm not a big fan of crowded places. This sounds more natural than, I hate crowded places. At B1 and B2 level, learning how to soften your opinions is very important because it helps you sound polite and mature. Repeat after me. It's not really my thing. Again, it's not really my thing. Now, repeat. I'm not a big fan of crowded places. Again, I'm not a big fan of crowded places. Now, say, I'm not a big fan of waking up too early. Good. Now, let's build a conversation. Someone asks, do you want to go to that big concert this weekend? You answer, I'm not sure. Big concerts are not really my thing because I don't enjoy crowded places. The person says, that's fair. Would you prefer something quieter? You answer, yes, maybe we could go somewhere calm and have a proper conversation. This sounds natural. You gave your preference politely and offered another idea. Now, let's practice. Another important skill, agreeing partly. Sometimes, you do not completely agree, but you also do not want to sound rude. You can use phrases like, I agree with you to some extent, or, I see what you mean, but, or, that may be true, but I think there is another side to it. These phrases are very useful for B2 level conversations because they help you discuss ideas with balance. For example, someone says, watching movies is the best way to learn English. You can answer, I agree with you to some extent. Movies can help a lot, but I think learners also need speaking practice. This sounds thoughtful. You are not rejecting the idea completely. You are adding a more balanced opinion. Repeat after me. I agree with you to some extent. Again. I agree with you to some extent. Now. Repeat. I see what you mean, but. Again. I see what you mean, but. Now. Say. That may be true, but I think there is another side to it. Excellent. Let's use this in a conversation. A person says, I think grammar is the most important part of English. You answer, I agree with you to some extent. Grammar is important because it helps us build correct sentences, but communication also depends on listening, vocabulary, pronunciation, and confidence. This is a strong intermediate answer. You explain both sides. You use clear language. You sound calm and intelligent. Now, repeat this answer in pieces. I agree with you to some extent. Grammar is important because it helps us build correct sentences, but communication also depends on listening, vocabulary, pronunciation, and confidence. Very good. This is the kind of answer you can use in speaking exams, classroom discussions, and real conversations. It shows that you can express an opinion with balance. Now, let's practice talking about misunderstandings. Misunderstandings happen often, even between people who speak the same language. So you need phrases to fix them politely. You can say, I think there may have been a misunderstanding. You can say, that's not exactly what I meant. You can say, let me explain it another way. You can say, I may not have explained it clearly. These phrases are very useful because they help you correct a situation without blaming the other person. Instead of saying, you didn't understand me, you can say, I may not have explained it clearly. This sounds much kinder and more mature. Repeat after me. I think there may have been a misunderstanding. Again. I think there may have been a misunderstanding. Now. Repeat. That's not exactly what I meant. Again. That's not exactly what I meant. Now, repeat. Let me explain it another way. Again. Let me explain it another way. Good. Now, listen to this conversation. Someone says, "So you don't want to help?" You answer, "No, that's not exactly what I meant. I do want to help, but I don't think I can do it today." The person says, "Oh, I see." You answer, "I may not have explained it clearly. I can help tomorrow, if that works for you." This is a very natural way to fix a misunderstanding. You clarify your meaning and offer a solution. Now, let's practice talking about choices. A very useful phrase is, "It's up to you." This means the other person can decide. For example, "We can eat now or later. It's up to you." Another phrase is, "Either way is fine with me." This means both options are okay. These phrases are helpful when you do not have a strong preference. You can say, "We can meet at the cafe or at the library. Either way is fine with me." Or, "You can call me today or tomorrow. It's up to you." These phrases make you sound flexible and easy to talk to. Repeat after me. It's up to you. Again, it's up to you. Now, repeat. Either way is fine with me. Again, either way is fine with me. Now, say, "We can meet earlier or later. Either way is fine with me." Excellent. Now, let's create a conversation. Your friend asks, "Do you want to walk or take a taxi?" You answer, "Either way is fine with me. If you're tired, we can take a taxi." Your friend says, "Maybe a taxi would be better." You answer, "Sure, that works for me." This is a simple but very useful conversation. The phrase, "That works for me," means, "That plan is okay for me." Repeat, "That works for me." "Tomorrow works for me." "That time works for me." Great. Now, let's practice one longer conversation that combines many phrases. Listen carefully. "I was wondering if we could change our plan for today. Something came up, and I have a few things to take care of before I can go out. I'm really sorry about the change. I know we planned this earlier, and I appreciate your flexibility. If tomorrow works for you, we could meet then. But if not, no pressure. Either way is fine with me." This is an excellent B1 and B2 style speaking paragraph. It is polite, clear, and natural. It uses, "I was wondering if something came up, take care of, I appreciate your flexibility, works for you, no pressure, and either way is fine with me." Now, repeat after me in small pieces. "I was wondering if we could change our plan for today. Something came up. I have a few things to take care of. I'm really sorry about the change. I appreciate your flexibility. If tomorrow works for you, we could meet then. But if not, no pressure. Either way is fine with me." Excellent. The phrase, "no pressure," is very common. It means the other person does not have to say yes. It makes your message friendly and relaxed. You can say, "Join us if you want, but no pressure. Let me know when you can, no pressure. You can think about it first, no pressure." Now, let's move to phone and message conversations, because many daily conversations happen through calls, voice messages, and texts. A useful phrase is, "I'll get back to you." This means, "I will reply later," or give you the information later. For example, "I'm not sure right now, but I'll get back to you." Or, "Let me check my schedule, and I'll get back to you." Another useful phrase is, "I'll look into it." This means, I will check or investigate something. For example, "I don't know why the app isn't working, but I'll look into it." "I'm not sure what happened, but I'll look into it." These phrases are very common in daily life and professional English. Repeat after me. "I'll get back to you." Again, "I'll get back to you." Now, repeat. "Let me check my schedule, and I'll get back to you." Again, "Let me check my schedule, and I'll get back to you." Now, repeat. "I'll look into it." Again, "I'll look into it." Excellent. Now, Listen to this conversation. Someone asks, "Do you know what time the event starts?" You answer, "I'm not completely sure, but I'll check and get back to you." The person says, "Thanks." You answer, "No problem, I'll look into it now." This conversation is short, but it sounds very natural. You do not need to know everything immediately, you only need to know how to respond clearly. Now, let's finish with a full speaking exercise. Listen first, then repeat. I've noticed that good conversations are not always about using difficult words. They are about responding naturally, asking polite questions, and explaining your thoughts clearly. For example, if something comes up, I can say, "I was wondering if we could change the time." If I don't understand, I can say, "Let me make sure I understood correctly." If I need time, I can say, "Let me check and get back to you." These small phrases help me stay calm in English conversations. I don't have to panic. When I forget a word, I can explain myself another way. Keep the conversation going and focus on communication. Now, repeat slowly. Good conversations are not always about using difficult words. They are about responding naturally, asking polite questions, and explaining your thoughts clearly. If something comes up, I can ask to change the time. If I don't understand, I can check the meaning. If I need time, I can say I'll get back to you. These small phrases help me stay calm. I can explain myself another way. Keep the conversation going and focus on communication. As you keep practicing, remember that intermediate English grows through real situations. You improve when you learn how to change plans, explain problems, agree politely, disagree gently, ask for clarification, and respond with confidence. These are the skills that make English useful in daily life. You do not need to wait until your English is perfect before you speak. You can begin with simple, natural phrases. You can build your answer slowly. You can pause, think, and continue. Every time you practice a useful phrase in a real sentence, you are training yourself to speak more fluently in the future. Now, let's continue by practicing how to speak about daily routines, personal habits, and lifestyle choices in a more natural intermediate way. But we will not keep the language too basic. At the B1 and B2 level, you should be able to talk about what you usually do, why you do it, how it helps you, what you are trying to change, and what challenges you face. This is very important because many real English conversations are built around ordinary life. People talk about their habits, their schedules, their health, their work, their studies, their family, their free time, and their personal goals. If you can explain these things clearly, you can speak English in many everyday situations with more confidence. Let's begin with a useful phrase. I'm trying to get into the habit of. This means you are trying to make something a regular part of your life. For example, instead of saying, "I want to read every day," you can say, "I'm trying to get into the habit of reading a little every day." This sounds more natural because it shows effort and process. You can say, "I'm trying to get into the habit of exercising regularly." "I'm trying to get into the habit of listening to English conversations every day." "I'm trying to get into the habit of speaking English out loud, instead of only studying silently." This phrase is excellent for intermediate English because it helps you talk about personal improvement. Repeat after me. I'm trying to get into the habit of reading every day. Again. I'm trying to get into the habit of reading every day. Now, repeat. I'm trying to get into the habit of speaking English out loud. Again. I'm trying to get into the habit of speaking English out loud. Now, repeat the full sentence. I'm trying to get into the habit of listening to English conversations every day. Very good. This sentence is not difficult, but it sounds natural, useful, and fluent. Now, let's use this phrase in a conversation. A friend asks, "What are you doing these days to improve your English?" You answer, I'm trying to get into the habit of listening to short English conversations every day. I don't always understand everything, but I'm getting better at catching the main idea. Your friend says, "That sounds like a good routine." You answer, "Yes, I think it helps, because I hear the same kinds of phrases again and again." Your friend says, "Do you also practice speaking?" You answer, "I do, but not as much as I should. I'm trying to speak out loud more often, so I can become more comfortable." This conversation is realistic, because many learners listen more than they speak. The phrase, "not as much as I should," is very useful. It means you do something, but maybe not enough. You can say, "I don't sleep as much as I should." "I don't exercise as much as I should." "I don't practice speaking as much as I should." Repeat after me, "Not as much as I should." Again, "Not as much as I should." Now, say, "I don't practice speaking as much as I should." Again, "I don't practice speaking as much as I should." Now, say, "I'm trying to speak out loud more often." Excellent! The phrase, "more often," is useful when you want to talk about increasing a habit. I want to read more often. I want to cook at home more often. I want to review my notes more often. I want to speak English more often. Now, let's practice talking about difficulties with habits. Many people start a new habit with excitement, but after a few days, they stop. In English, you can say, "I find it difficult to stay consistent." This is a very natural sentence. Stay consistent means continue doing something regularly. You can also say, "I find it difficult to stay motivated." "I find it difficult to focus for a long time." "I find it difficult to practice when I'm tired." The pattern, "I find it difficult to," is very useful for explaining challenges. It sounds more natural than saying, "It is difficult for me," again and again. Repeat after me. "I find it difficult to stay consistent." Again, "I find it difficult to stay consistent." Now, repeat. "I find it difficult to stay motivated." Again, "I find it difficult to stay motivated." Now, repeat. "I find it difficult to practice when I'm tired." Very good. Now, let's turn this into a fuller answer. I find it difficult to stay consistent, especially when I have a busy week, but I'm trying to make English practice part of my daily routine. This sentence is strong because it includes a challenge, a situation, and a goal. Repeat after me. I find it difficult to stay consistent, especially when I have a busy week, but I'm trying to make English practice part of my daily routine. Now, let's practice a conversation about consistency. Someone asks, "Do you study English every day?" You answer, "Not every day, to be honest. I try to, but sometimes I get busy or tired." The person says, "That happens. What do you do when you miss a day?" You answer, "I try not to be too hard on myself. I just continue the next day." The person says, "That's a good attitude." You answer, "Yes, I think consistency is important, but it doesn't mean I have to be perfect." This conversation teaches a very important mindset phrase. I try not to be too hard on myself. It means you try not to criticize yourself too much. You can say, "I made a mistake, but I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. I didn't do everything perfectly, but I'm learning not to be too hard on myself." Repeat after me. I try not to be too hard on myself. Again, I try not to be too hard on myself. Now, repeat. Consistency is important, but it doesn't mean I have to be perfect. Again, consistency is important, but it doesn't mean I have to be perfect. Excellent. This sentence is beautiful for English learners because many learners stop practicing when they make mistakes. But mistakes are not the opposite of learning. Mistakes are part of learning. When you speak, you test what you know. When you make a mistake, you discover what needs more practice. So do not be too hard on yourself. As you continue practicing, remember that fluency is not only built during long study sessions, it is also built in small moments. When you describe your habits, explain your challenges, talk about your goals, or share how you feel, you are using English for real communication. This is what makes your English grow. Do not wait for a perfect moment to practice. Use the sentence patterns you learned today. Say what you're trying to do. Say what is difficult. Say what is improving. Say what you need next. When you can talk about your own life in English, your speaking becomes more personal, more natural, and more powerful. Now, let's continue with another very important skill for intermediate English, telling small stories from daily life. When you reach B1 and B2 level, you should not only answer questions with one sentence. You should be able to tell what happened, why it happened, how you felt, what you did next, and what you learned from it. This kind of speaking is useful everywhere. You use it when you talk to friends, when you explain something at work, when you share an experience, when you describe a problem, or when you answer speaking test questions. A good daily life story does not need to be dramatic. It only needs to be clear, organized, and natural. Let's start with a simple story pattern. You can begin with the other day. This phrase means recently, but not exactly today. For example, the other day, I ran into an old friend while I was shopping. The phrase ran into means met someone by chance. You did not plan it, it just happened. This is a very common phrase in spoken English. You can say, I ran into my neighbor at the store. I ran into a classmate on the bus. I ran into someone I used to work with. This phrase helps you tell real stories naturally. Repeat after me. The other day. Again. The other day. Now. Repeat. I ran into an old friend. Again. I ran into an old friend. Now. Say the full sentence. The other day, I ran into an old friend while I was shopping. Excellent. Now, let's build a small story from this sentence. The other day, I ran into an old friend while I was shopping. We hadn't seen each other for a long time, so we stopped for a few minutes and caught up. It was really nice, because it reminded me how quickly time passes. This sounds natural because it has a beginning, a small action, and a feeling. The phrase caught up means talked about recent life updates. The phrase it reminded me is useful when something makes you think about an idea or memory. Repeat after me. We hadn't seen each other for a long time. We stopped for a few minutes and caught up. It reminded me how quickly time passes. Very good. Now, let's practice the phrase. It reminded me. You can say, it reminded me of my school days. It reminded me to call my family. It reminded me that small moments can be meaningful. This phrase helps you connect an experience to a thought. That makes your English sound deeper and more fluent. Now, let's practice a conversation using a small story. A friend asks, did anything interesting happen recently? You answer, yes, actually. The other day, I ran into an old friend while I was shopping. Your friend says, really? Had you seen each other recently? You answer, no, we hadn't seen each other in years, so it was a nice surprise. Your friend says, did you talk for long? You answer, not really, just a few minutes, but we exchanged numbers and said we should catch up properly soon. This conversation is very natural. Notice the phrase properly soon. It means in a better, fuller, or more complete way. If you say, we should talk properly soon, it means not just a quick talk, but a real conversation with enough time. Repeat after me. It was a nice surprise. We exchanged numbers. We should catch up properly soon. Excellent. These phrases are simple, but very useful for telling social stories. Now, let's change the story. The other day, I ran into my teacher at a cafe. I didn't expect to see her there, but it was lovely to talk for a few minutes. She asked me how my English was going, and I told her I was gradually getting more confident. This is another small story. You can see how one phrase can help you build many different examples. Now, let's move to telling stories about small problems. A useful phrase is, I was about to. This means you were going to do something very soon. For example, I was about to leave the house when I realized I couldn't find my keys. This is a very natural story sentence. It creates a moment. You can say, I was about to call you when my phone died. I was about to start studying when someone knocked on the door. I was about to go to sleep when I remembered I had to send an important message. This phrase is powerful because it helps you explain an interruption. Repeat after me. I was about to leave the house. Again. I was about to leave the house. Now, repeat. When I realized I couldn't find my keys. Again. When I realized I couldn't find my keys. Now, say the full sentence. I was about to leave the house when I realized I couldn't find my keys. Very good. Now, let's make it into a short story. I was about to leave the house when I realized I couldn't find my keys. I checked my bag, my desk, and even the kitchen, but they were nowhere to be found. After a few minutes, I finally found them under a notebook. I felt relieved, but I was also annoyed because I was already running late. This story includes useful phrases like, nowhere to be found, I felt relieved, I was annoyed, and running late. Repeat after me. They were nowhere to be found. I finally found them under a notebook. I felt relieved. I was already running late. Excellent. The phrase running late means you're late, or likely to be late. You can say, I'm running late. Sorry, I'm running a little late. We're running late, so we should leave now. This phrase is extremely common in daily life. Now, let's practice a conversation about this situation. Someone asks, why did you sound so stressed earlier? You answer, I was about to leave the house when I realized I couldn't find my keys. The person says, oh no, did you find them? You answer, yes, eventually. They were under a notebook, but it took me a few minutes to find them. The person says, that must have been frustrating. You answer, it was, especially because I was already running late. This conversation sounds natural because you tell the story step by step. You do not need complicated grammar. You only need a clear order. Now, let's talk about another very useful storytelling phrase. At first. This means in the beginning. You can use it with, but then, to show change. For example, at first I felt nervous, but then I started to relax. This is a perfect sentence for English learners. At first, I didn't understand the conversation, but then I caught the main idea. At first, the task seemed difficult, but then it became easier. At first, I was unsure, but then I decided to try. This pattern helps you talk about progress inside a story. Repeat after me. At first, I felt nervous, but then I started to relax. Now, repeat the full sentence. At first, I felt nervous, but then I started to relax. Excellent. Now, let's use it in a story about speaking English. At first, I felt nervous when I had to speak English in front of other people. But then I realized that most people were not judging me. They were just listening to my message. That helped me feel more comfortable. This is a strong intermediate story because it explains a feeling, a realization, and a result. Repeat after me. I realized that most people were not judging me. They were just listening to my message. That helped me feel more comfortable. Very good. This kind of language helps you speak about personal growth, not just daily actions. As you keep practicing, remember that stories are one of the best ways to build fluency. You do not need big stories. You can talk about losing your keys, meeting a friend, changing a plan, learning a lesson, making a mistake, or practicing English for a few minutes. The secret is to organize your ideas clearly. Start with the situation. Add what happened. Explain how you felt. Say what you did next. End with what you learned, or what changed. When you practice this again and again, you become more comfortable speaking for longer. Your English begins to flow because you are not only saying sentences, you are sharing experiences. Now, let's continue. By practicing conversations, where you need to share your thoughts, explain your reasons, and respond to another person in a more fluent way. At the intermediate level, you should not only say what you think, you should also explain why you think it. Give an example, and respond to the other person's idea. This is how real conversations become longer and more meaningful. Many learners stop after one sentence because they think they have answered the question. But in natural English, one answer often opens the door to another idea. So today, we will practice how to make your answers longer, without making them confusing. Let's begin with a very useful phrase. The way I see it. This means, in my opinion, but it sounds more natural and conversational. For example, instead of saying, in my opinion, daily practice is important, you can say, the way I see it, daily practice is more useful than studying for many hours only once in a while. Listen again. The way I see it, daily practice is more useful than studying for many hours only once in a while. This sentence sounds thoughtful because it gives a clear opinion and a comparison. You can use the way I see it when you want to express your view calmly. Repeat after me. The way I see it. Again. The way I see it. Now. Repeat. The way I see it. Daily practice is important. Again. The way I see it. Daily practice is important. Now. Say this longer sentence. The way I see it, small daily habits can make a big difference over time. Excellent. This phrase is useful in many conversations. You can say, the way I see it, confidence comes from practice. You can say, the way I see it, mistakes are part of learning. You can say, the way I see it, listening and speaking should be practiced together. These sentences are strong, clear, and natural. Now, let's practice a conversation with this phrase. Someone asks, do you think it is better to study English alone or with other people? You answer, the way I see it. Both can be useful, but they help in different ways. The person says, what do you mean? You answer, studying alone helps you focus on your own weaknesses, but practicing with others helps you react faster in real conversations. The person says, that's true. Speaking with people can be scary, though. You answer, I agree. It can feel uncomfortable at first, but it becomes easier when you do it regularly. This conversation is natural because you do not give only one short opinion. You explain both sides, add a reason, and respond to the other person's concern. Repeat after me. Both can be useful. They help in different ways. Studying alone helps you focus on your own weaknesses. Practicing with others helps you react faster. It can feel uncomfortable at first, but it becomes easier when you do it regularly. Very good. Notice the phrase, react faster. In conversation, speaking is not only about grammar, it is also about reacting. Someone asks a question, and you need to answer. Someone gives an opinion, and you need to respond. Someone tells a story, and you need to show interest. This is why conversation practice is so important. Now, let's talk about another useful phrase. That depends on. This phrase is used when the answer changes based on the situation. For example, if someone asks, is it better to study in the morning or at night? You can answer, that depends on your schedule and your energy level. This is better than giving one strict answer. You can say, that depends on the person. That depends on how much time you have. That depends on what you want to improve. This phrase is very useful because many real-life questions do not have one simple answer. Repeat after me. That depends on the situation. Again, that depends on the situation. Now, repeat. That depends on your schedule. Again, that depends on your schedule. Now, repeat. That depends on what you want to improve. Excellent. Now, let's use it in a conversation. Someone asks, how long should I practice English every day? You answer, that depends on your schedule, but even 15 minutes can help if you use that time well. The person says, what should I do in 15 minutes? You answer, you could listen to a short conversation, repeat 5 useful phrases, and answer one question out loud. The person says, that sounds possible. You answer, exactly. The key is to make the practice simple enough to repeat. This conversation gives a realistic answer. It does not make English practice feel impossible. Repeat after me. Even 15 minutes can help. If you use that time well, repeat 5 useful phrases. Answer one question out loud. The key is to make the practice simple enough to repeat. Excellent. The phrase, the key is also very useful. It means, the most important thing is. You can say, the key is consistency. The key is listening carefully. The key is using phrases in context. The key is not giving up after one difficult day. This phrase helps you explain important ideas clearly. Now, let's practice talking about goals. Many learners say, I want to speak English. That is fine, but it is not specific. A stronger sentence is, my goal is to speak more naturally in everyday conversations. Another strong sentence is, my main goal is to understand native speakers, without translating every sentence in my head. The phrase, my main goal is, helps you explain what matters most to you. You can say, my main goal is to build confidence. My main goal is to improve my pronunciation. My main goal is to use English more comfortably in daily life. These sentences sound clear and focused. Repeat after me. My main goal is to speak more naturally. Again. My main goal is to speak more naturally. Now, repeat. My main goal is to understand conversations more easily. Again. My main goal is to understand conversations more easily. Now, say. My main goal is to use English more comfortably in daily life. Very good. Now, let's build a fuller answer. My main goal is to speak more naturally in everyday conversations. I don't want to sound perfect. I just want to express my ideas clearly and understand other people without feeling stressed. This answer is honest, realistic, and natural. Now, let's practice that answer in small pieces. My main goal is to speak more naturally in everyday conversations. I don't want to sound perfect. I just want to express my ideas clearly and understand other people without feeling stressed. Excellent. This is the kind of answer that makes your speaking sound more mature. You are not only saying, I want fluency. You are explaining what fluency means to you. Now, let's move to a common conversation situation, giving updates. In daily life, people often ask, how is it going? How is your work going? How is your English practice going? How is your project going? You can answer with a useful phrase, it's going well so far. For example, my English practice is going well so far. I still have a lot to improve, but I feel more confident than before. The phrase, so far, means until now. It shows that something is still in progress. You can say, it's been helpful so far. Everything is fine so far. I'm enjoying it so far. I haven't had any problems so far. Repeat after me. It's going well so far. Again. It's going well so far. Now, repeat. I'm enjoying it so far. Again. I'm enjoying it so far. Now, repeat. I haven't had any problems so far. Excellent. Now, let's use it in a conversation. A friend asks, how is your English practice going? You answer, it's going well so far. I'm still working on listening, but I've noticed that I can follow conversations more easily than before. The friend says, that's great. What are you doing differently? You answer, I'm focusing more on phrases and sentence patterns instead of memorizing random words. The friend says, that sounds like a smart approach. You answer, yes, it feels more practical. This conversation is useful because it helps you talk about progress in a natural way. Repeat after me. I can follow conversations more easily than before. I'm focusing more on phrases. Instead of memorizing random words, it feels more practical. Good. As you continue, remember that speaking fluently does not mean speaking without pauses. It means knowing how to continue. After a pause, it means knowing how to explain your opinion, ask for clarification, check understanding, and respond naturally. When you learn phrases like, the way I see it, that depends on, so far, on the other hand, at the same time, and are we on the same page? You give yourself more ways to think and speak in English. These phrases are like bridges. They connect your ideas and help your listener follow you. Keep practicing them in real sentences, and little by little, your English will feel more flexible, more confident, and more fluent. Now, let's bring everything together by practicing longer, more natural, intermediate conversations that connect listening, speaking, vocabulary, sentence flow, and confidence. At this point, you have practiced many useful phrases for daily life, such as, "That makes sense," "I was wondering if," "I've noticed that," "The way I see it," "I didn't quite catch that," "It might be worth trying," and "I'm gradually getting more confident." But learning phrases is only the first step. The real goal is to use them inside real communication. You want to hear a phrase, understand it quickly, repeat it naturally, and then use it in your own sentence. That is how your English moves, from memory into fluency. Let's start with a realistic conversation about making progress in English. Someone asks, "Do you feel like your English is improving?" You answer, "Yes, I do, but not always in a dramatic way. I think my progress is happening slowly and quietly. I've noticed that I can understand more natural phrases than before, and I don't panic as much when I miss a word." This is a very useful answer because it sounds honest. You are not pretending that everything is perfect. You are explaining real progress. The phrase, "not always in a dramatic way," means the change is not huge or sudden. The phrase, "slowly and quietly," means progress is happening little by little. And the phrase, "I don't panic as much," is very helpful for learners because listening becomes easier when you stay calm. Repeat after me. My progress is happening slowly and quietly. Again. My progress is happening slowly and quietly. Now. Repeat. I can understand more natural phrases than before. Again. I can understand more natural phrases than before. Now. Repeat. I don't panic as much when I miss a word. Excellent. This is an important sentence. In real English, you will miss words sometimes. That does not mean your listening is bad. It means you are listening to real language. Your job is not to catch every word perfectly. Your job is to follow the meaning, stay relaxed, and keep going. Now, let's practice a longer answer about listening. Imagine someone asks, "What is the hardest part of listening to intermediate English?" You can answer, "For me, the hardest part is connected speech. When I read a sentence, I can usually understand it. But when someone says the same sentence quickly, the words seem to blend together. That used to frustrate me. But now, I understand that listening is a skill that needs training. I try to listen to the same conversation more than once. The first time, I focus on the general meaning. The second time, I notice useful phrases. The third time, I repeat some sentences out loud." This answer is strong because it explains a problem, a feeling, and a practical method. Repeat after me in small pieces. The hardest part is connected speech. The words seem to blend together. That used to frustrate me. But listening is a skill that needs training. The first time, I focus on the general meaning. The second time, I notice useful phrases. The third time, I repeat some sentences out loud. Very good. The phrase, "blend together," means things join or mix, so they are harder to separate. In fast English, words often blend together. This is why repeated listening is useful. You do not need to understand everything the first time. Every time you listen again, your brain catches a little more. Now, let's move into a daily life conversation about solving a small problem. One person says, "I'm having trouble staying consistent with my English practice." You answer, "I understand. Staying consistent can be difficult, especially when life gets busy. Maybe you could make your practice smaller and easier to repeat." The person says, "What do you mean by smaller?" You answer. Instead of trying to study for 2 hours, you could start with 10 focused minutes. Listen to a short conversation, choose 3 phrases, and say your own sentences with those phrases. The person says, "That sounds more manageable." You answer, "Exactly." The key is to build a habit that fits your real life. This conversation is useful because it gives advice in a soft and practical way. Repeat after me. Staying consistent can be difficult, especially when life gets busy. Make your practice smaller and easier to repeat. That sounds more manageable. The key is to build a habit that fits your real life. Excellent. The phrase, fits your real life, is very important. A study plan is only useful if you can actually follow it. If your plan is too heavy, you may stop. But if your plan is simple and repeatable, you can continue for a long time. Now, let's practice speaking about confidence in real conversations. Someone asks, "What do you do when you feel nervous speaking English?" You answer, "I try to slow down and remind myself that I don't have to sound perfect. If I forget a word, I try to explain the idea in another way. If I don't understand the question, I ask the person to repeat it. And if I need a moment, I say, 'Let me think about that for a second.' These small strategies help me stay in the conversation instead of giving up. This answer is powerful because it teaches you how to survive real speaking moments. Fluency is not about never getting stuck. Fluency is about knowing what to do. When you get stuck, repeat after me. I try to slow down. I don't have to sound perfect. I explain the idea in another way. Could you repeat the question? Let me think about that for a second. These small strategies help me stay in the conversation. Very good. The phrase, stay in the conversation, is important. Many learners leave the conversation mentally when they feel nervous. They stop listening. They stop trying. But if you know a few rescue phrases, you can continue. You can say, "Let me say that another way." You can say, "I'm not sure how to explain it, but I'll try." You can say, "Could you give me an example?" These phrases help you stay active. Now, let's practice a conversation where you explain your opinion with balance. Someone says, "Do you think advanced phrases are necessary for fluency?" You answer, "That depends on how you use them. Advanced phrases can be very helpful, but only if they make your meaning clearer. The way I see it, fluency is not about filling every sentence with difficult words. It is about choosing the right phrase for the right moment." The person says, "So simple English can still be fluent?" You answer, "Absolutely. Simple English can be very fluent when it is clear, natural, and well connected." At the same time, learning stronger phrases gives you more choices when you speak. This conversation is excellent because it gives a balanced answer. Repeat after me. That depends on how you use them. Advanced phrases can be helpful, but only if they make your meaning clearer. Fluency is not about difficult words. It is about choosing the right phrase for the right moment. Simple English can still be fluent. Excellent. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I'm really proud of you for staying with this full lesson and giving your time, your attention, and your energy to improving your English. Remember, becoming fluent does not happen in one perfect moment. It happens through small moments of listening, repeating, speaking, making mistakes, trying again, and slowly becoming more comfortable with the language. Today, you practiced many useful English phrases for B1 and B2 level conversations. You practiced how to explain your ideas, how to talk about daily life, how to share opinions, how to ask for clarification, how to respond naturally, and how to keep a conversation going, even when you do not know every word. This is real progress. And if you continue practicing like this every day, your listening will become sharper, your speaking will become smoother, and your confidence will grow, little by little. Before you leave, I want you to choose just 3 phrases from today's lesson and use them in your own sentences. You can say them out loud, write them in your notebook, or repeat them while thinking about your real life. For example, "I'm gradually getting more confident." I didn't quite catch that. Or, the way I see it. When you use phrases in your own life, they become part of your natural English. If this lesson helped you, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss our next English learning video. Keep practicing, keep listening, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep believing that your English can improve, one sentence at a time. Thank you again for learning with me today. I'm Emma, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Keep going. You are doing better than you think.